I have 25 new words for you today, and I'm going to try and teach you them in a different kind of way. They're great for the GRE, but to be honest, they're useful for anybody. The idea that I had was to ask ChatGPT, link in the description, to write a poem based on these 25 new words. These are words that haven't appeared in any of my other vocab videos. Brand new, ranging from medium difficulty to really show off kind of words. So we're going to get straight into the poem and try and learn the words at the same time. What I'm going to do is read each stanza of the poem and then teach you the words that were contained in that stanza. The first stanza is, "The static air was thick with malodorous scent as we tried to stave off the fight, demolish the walls that held us in, but the stingy words cut us like a knife." Okay, so static means still and unchanging, a bit like the word stationary. Nothing's changing, it's static. Malodorous, an odor is a bad smell, and mal means bad, so this is a truly bad scent or smell. It smells terrible. As we try to stave off the fight. A stave is like an ancient kind of stick. So to push something off with a stick, to stave it off, is to avoid it, to avert it, to stop it from happening. The lawyer tried to stave off bankruptcy, try to avoid it, to not let it happen, to stave it off. Then they tried to demolish the walls. You may know this word already, but demolish means to break something down, destroy it, like demolishing a building. But the stingy words cut us like a knife. This is the first of the slightly badly used words that didn't quite capture the meaning. You may not agree with that, but stingy means being frugal with your money, being tight. It's a negative word. It's derogatory. If you call someone stingy, it means they're not generous. It's the opposite of generous. They're tight with their money. They don't give things away. So I'm not quite sure how words can be stingy, but there we go. Next stanza. Temperamental outbursts left us stupefied as we tried to navigate the strife. We reiterated and repeated our points, but the other side remained unyielding in their life. Temperamental, do you notice it's pronounced very differently to how it's written? If I pronounced it how it's written, it would be temperamental. It's temperamental. A bit like temperature is pronounced differently to how it's spelled. But either way, it means being unpredictable. You could just say having a temper, but it's not about just being angry. It's where someone's mood is capricious, fickle. You can't see where they're going. They're emotional, a bit unstable, temperamental. And being left stupefied, this is a great word. It's like you're stunned into silence. You're left unable to think or feel properly. You're astonished, you're shocked, you're stupefied. Now, you actually may not know the next word in the next line, strife. Even though that wasn't one of the 25, strife is difficulty, troubles. They're trying to navigate, chart the waters of the troubles, work their way through them. We reiterated. That was one of the other words I wanted to teach. To reiterate is to say something again, basically to repeat yourself. The prefix re at the beginning is a bit of a giveaway because re always means to repeat. But the other side remained unyielding, not giving away anything. If you're unyielding, you're not surrendering, you're not giving up, you're not giving anything. But it's not just about a battle, it could be a negotiation. If you're not giving any ground in a negotiation, you could be said to be unyielding. And these people are being unyielding in their life. Here's a really interesting one, but let's explain it after I've read the stanza. Foursquare in their beliefs, they stood, spiteful words spilling from their lips. We seethed with anger, trying to cultivate a sense of peace amidst the chaos and the dips. To be foursquare is to be solid and robust. I looked up the etymology, the origin of that word, and it's basically that a square has four sides. So in medieval times, it was thought to be super robust. I guess a square is robust. But either way, to be foursquare behind someone is to be solidly supporting that person. What about spiteful? It means resentful. Holding spite against someone, bitterness, wanting ill for them. And these words were spilling from their lips. And the next two lines are kind of interesting here. A little bit contradictory. To seethe with anger fits perfectly, because to seethe is to be full of hate and fury, and you can barely hold it in. But then it goes on to say that we're trying to cultivate, which means to grow, to spread, to cultivate, a sense of peace amidst the chaos and the dips. I'm not quite sure what the dips has to do with anything, but how would seething with anger mean that you're trying to cultivate a sense of peace? Doesn't really fit. This poem's a little bit dodge, but it's entertaining, let's admit. And hopefully we're learning loads of words. Let's keep going. The argument was rife with misunderstanding, as we fought with all our might. But the dour looks and unyielding stances left us feeling drained and tired. No respite in sight. To be rife is to be full of something, for it to have spread everywhere. If you say a disease was rife, it means it's spread across a community. If an argument is rife with misunderstanding, it means it's full of that misunderstanding. Great word, rife. But the dour looks. To be dour is to be gloomy, solemn, serious, sullen, never really smiling, always kind of frowning. Not necessarily angry, just serious in a kind of gloomy way. And then unyielding, we already know. A stance is a position. So they have gloomy, serious looks, an unwavering position. And it left these guys feeling drained and tired, with no respite in sight. Respite is like relief, safety, a break, a pause. And there's no pause, no break in sight. It's just going on and on and on. We searched for a way to reconcile, but the compunction we felt was nebulous at best. Lovely. The risible attempts at a rejoinder were met with flummoxed looks and a retroactive test. The logic here is amazing. ChatGPT is trying its best to make a poem out of my mangled 25 words, but there we go. Hopefully you're learning loads of new words today. Okay, we search for a way to reconcile, to bring two sides together. That's reconcile. Again, these are bonus words here. So it must be 30 really is the real total. But anyway, the compunction. Compunction is like guilt and pity. The most common way to use the word is to say they had no compunction, to phrase it in the negative. She felt no compunction while negotiating the best deal. No pity for the other side, no guilt, no regret. Here they're phrasing it in the positive. But the guilt, the compunction we felt was nebulous, cloudy, misty, vague, ethereal at best. As in it's not tangible, they're not feeling much compunction, much guilt. As I said, normally you use compunction in the negative to have no compunction about something, no guilt. And there we go, we've learned another word as well. Nebulous is cloudy, like a nebula in space. When you look at it in the telescope, it's cloudy and hard to spot the individual elements. I think they originally felt that galaxies far away were actually nebulas. They didn't actually realize there were other galaxies out there in the universe. But now we know there are. But nebulous can mean anything that's cloudy, unclear, vague. And it continues the risible. That means derisible, mockable, shameful, embarrassing attempts. I look down on those attempts. They are risible at a rejoinder. A rejoinder is a reply, a rebuttal, a counter-argument. So they had these embarrassing, awful attempts at a counter-argument. And when they did that, they were met with flummoxed, confused. Flummoxed is a fantastic word to say confused, not knowing what's going on, bemused looks. And at that point, the stanza was kind of making sense that if you have these embarrassing, awful attempts at a reply, it would get flummoxed looks. No idea how they tried to segue in this retroactive test. They did their best. Good job, ChatGPT. But anyway, retroactive means looking backwards. Imagine you apply a tax for the next year coming up ahead. That's fine, no one complains. But if you make it retroactive, so if you make it apply to previous years, often people get angry because they say like, we didn't know that was coming. That's not fair. We didn't know it at the time because it's retroactive. It applies, it's active, retro, going backwards. Imagine a teacher changing the rules retroactively so that the thing you did that was within the rules in the class suddenly is now against the rules and you didn't even know it at the time. It's kind of unfair often, a lot of retroactive things, not always, but commonly. Final stanza. We were left to debunk the lies and the myths in the proximity of our own frustration. But maybe someday we'll find a way to find peace and a moment of elation. Bit beauty seeping in there at the end. Well done. Okay, we were left to debunk. It means prove something wrong, usually a conspiracy theory or a lie, to show up the flaws in the logic, to reveal the flaws in the logic or the flaws in the evidence, to debunk something, show it to be nonsense. In the proximity, it's a lovely word, in the local area to something. I am proximate to a local bakery. I am near to it. Are you in the proximity of a good school? Are you nearby to a good school? Obviously, it can also be metaphorical. In the proximity of our own frustrations, they're getting very near to being frustrated. But maybe someday we'll find a way to find peace and a moment of elation, joy and elation, happiness. So if any of these, I would say 30 words, were new to you, please let me know in the comments. And also let me know if you enjoy this way of learning new GRE vocabulary or vocabulary for anyone who just wants to improve their English in the form of ChatGPT outputs. Poems, I could make it do stories, anything. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.